All right, everyone, we should be live. We'll make sure that's actually the case. Already a couple of super chats in. I'll make sure that we're working on Rumble, although chat is working, so as usual, good indicator. Reminder, we're only 2 weeks out from midterms. Yes, there will be a live midterm stream. That'll be probably about 4.5 hours long, probably followed by an after party where I'll just look at some of the crazy things that are being said. By the way, if you're on Twitter, you can DM me or just at me on there. I am compiling a list of people making unhinged predictions for the midterms, specifically leftoids. You know, I've got Brooklyn Dad Defiant, of course. I've got Michael Sinclair, Christopher Bowsey, who preemptively blocked me for some reason. I don't know. Michael Moore and many others. I'm compiling some of their statements, their predictions that the Democrats will actually take the midterms. It won't even be close. Shit like that. Let's make sure that we're live on Rumble. Yes, we are. Caleb Arbor, CCP tied group to run election observer program in swing states. Posobiec tweeted out earlier from the war room. Can you look into it? Should we be worried? Yeah, anytime there's Chinese involvement, and there usually is, it's something to look into. I wouldn't be worried too much about it leading to fortification, though, because too many states have cracked down on that shit. Horowitz, Feinberg, and Horowitz. Clank is dank. Agreed. And we've got plenty of news to cover today. Starting off with Joe Biden, let's just launch right into that. A link in the description, not archived, because this is a video clip. Joe Biden was celebrating I think the 50th year of the White House landscaper. Now tends to the trees and the lawn and shit like that. Like the person who coordinates all of that is elderly as fuck, sort of like Joe Biden. So they planted a tree to commemorate this particular individual. And Biden, shortly thereafter, wandered off to the side and apparently doesn't know where the fuck he's going. I wish that I could say that this was, a one-off case, but it's not. This is the 5th or 6th time that he's done that, just in the White House grounds. You've been there for a while. You were there for 8 years under Obama, puttering around and doing your thing. You're there at least, you're more in Delaware than you are in the White House at this point, but, you're semi-familiar with the surroundings. Why is it that you don't know what direction the White House is in at this point? I find that very, very funny. This is from C-SPAN. Joe Biden getting lost in front of the White House earlier today. I believe this was on the South Lawn, if I remember correctly. So once again, he just wanders off. Jill Biden, by the way, usually his handler, didn't bother to step in and guide him. At this point, I think she's just done with it, dude. She just wanders off out of frame in the other direction, in the proper direction. And Biden sits there, and I guess someone gives him an indicator. Hey, Mr. President, you're walking the wrong way. He turns around and he does that thing where he's like the deer in the headlights thing that he's done dozens of times over the last year. He does that more and more often, by the way. Cheers to Tudor Dixon. Yeah, Tudor Dixon may actually pull it off. So might Lee Zeldin. We'll be talking about some polls actually here as well in a moment. So yeah, the main news of the day, Biden did it again. It's not even, it's only semi-newsworthy at this point because it happens so often. I don't want to have to make 5 or 6 videos a day, but unfortunately I have a feeling if Joe Biden doesn't get 25th or die in office or resign, that by some point in the middle of his 3rd year, it's going to be a daily occurrence to the point where maybe there'll have to be a second channel just about Joe Biden and his various failings. Keep in mind that he does wear adult undergarments. He probably drinks prune smoothies every morning to have his bowel movement at random times. He just doesn't know what he's doing at this point. He forgets, that people are dead. He forgets who the president is the other day, referring to Kamala Harris as the president. Again, that's like the 3rd time he's done that. Wandering off. This isn't the first time this has occurred. And they're expecting this dude to go another, full 2 years. I don't think he's going to be mentally capable of doing so. Oh, yeah, Natural Human, you bring up a good point. Keep in mind that there is a link in the description on both platforms, YouTube and Rumble. And pinned at the top of chat if you're watching on YouTube. We are continuing to restore Greece with that medium blue color that you see. Several of the Turkish streamers on Pixel Planet have quit, including, I believe, Karim, who I made a peace agreement with. I'm still going to hold to that for now. I'm not going to attack Turkey itself. But we are now interested in furthering our ambitions in the Levant, as well as Egypt. We've annexed the Sinai without a shot fired. We're actively defending it down there. And yeah, we're helping the Greeks again. I have fun doing that. You know, it's just a thing. I don't know how many pixels I've actually placed. If you get an account there, you can actually see the number that you placed. I know it's in the several tens of thousands range at this point. So yeah, I've spent a little bit of time on Pixel Planet throughout the recent history. Next, we have AOC. We have a cringe news update. It's almost midnight. Welcome to Political ASMR, Twitter. New York early voting starts next Saturday, October 28th. California early ballots have hit mailboxes. Send yours back this week. Yes, AOC trying to branch out into ASMR. Doesn't really do a very good job of it, by the way. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, how many more ways are you going to try to get attention? Salsa dancing. We've got her randomly breaking down into the ethnic jive sort of thing when confronted with people with legitimate questions for her. We've got the sassy, snarky remark thing. Now we've got political ASMR, I guess. How can one person fall so far from grace? You have the Justice Dems booted her yet, like they did Cenk Uygur after he helped them organize the whole thing in the first place. Yeah, I guess the next step is AOC OnlyFans. Is it sad that I think that that could actually become a possibility if she ends up falling out of office? Like Rachel Dolezal, I guess, is doing that shit now, which is about the most cringe, heinous thing that I've ever seen. Sad Night Man, the Zeldin Hochul debate is also tonight. Yes, but I have a feeling that people will be paying more attention to Mehmet Oz v. Fetterman. Yes, indeed, another announcement. I'm assuming that tomorrow's main video, unless something crazy happens, is going to be a breakdown of the debate between Oz and Fetterman. Unlikely to be able to catch it live, you know, because I do like to sleep at some point, even though I am an insomniac, so I have an advantage as being a young father. But I'll definitely be going through more than just the clips. Like with the DeSantis-Chris debate, it's like, okay, look at a few of the clips. You can get a feel for the debate. We already know that DeSantis is going to win. He's 10 points ahead in the aggregate. Nothing's going to change that. It's basically done. Sort of like Abbott and O'Rourke and people like that, Kemp and Abrams. With this one, though, it's basically a 50-50 sum game. Fetterman is leading more or less in the polls, but it's a very small lead, and it's been moving in the other direction. What I'm waiting to see is if a debate, you know, if Fetterman really crashes and burns, and there's a good 50-50 shot that he does that change that trajectory? All of a sudden, Mehmet Oz is up by a point or two, and he clinches. That would be an enormous loss for the Democratic Party. I think that it's possible. Skycloud Rain, you think corporations will force employees to vote a certain way, like ask which party you did and punish those who didn't vote to their liking? No, because that would be extremely illegal. Most of them know better than to do that. They don't go quite that far. Although they will make it clear who they endorse, just to be clear. When you see campaign material lying around the office, they're putting it out there who they support, which is fine. It's a private business. I don't give a shit if they want to openly endorse a candidate. But no, they're not, generally speaking, you don't have that kind of coercion. The Grizzly, what are your hopes versus expectations of a MAGA-style Trump Senate and House? In theory, if he gets reelected in 24, which is likely. What do you expect him to get done in his probable second term? I would think that wall funding would go more smoothly, especially with the MAGA crowd overrunning the House, which controls the purse strings. Probably focus on attempted military reform, which would involve more military spending, which I wouldn't even support, but I would suspect that'd be a thing. Probably using the courts to attack anti-gun laws, which would be good. And then hopefully going after tech censorship, going after the legacy media and big tech and their censorship and disinformation campaigns. If he could only accomplish those few things and maybe some tax reform on the side, that'd be fine. Skyclad Rain, I asked because they got away with asking people's jab status, which was protected info. They punished people for not complying with that. Slightly different than party affiliation. More protected than under just HIPAA. SP Elite. Sticks, do you believe in the meme that I can't actually name on YouTube? Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it, so, yeah. But yeah, I do find it funny. Like every time something goes wrong, there are people out there that will immediately start screaming about Jews being involved. It's sort of like a microcosm of the left, too. Like white people are responsible for every problem. Oh, my God, the economy sucks. And those evil white people have done it. A little bit similar. Gets a little bit fucking old. Roscoe P. Coltrane. Biden's theme song should be Oops, I Did It Again by Britney. Yeah, but he would forget the lyrics halfway through and just putter around the stage. So I don't think that it would work. Can you imagine Joe Biden in concert and how fucking funny that would be? So yeah, AOC is doing ASMR now. I mean, it's as a joke, but it's still cringe as fuck. I mean, aren't you in your 40s or something like that? Do you think you could calm down a little bit at some point? We do have plenty of new polls, so we'll go through them. New Hampshire is an important one. Just today, we have 3 new polls being compiled here. We have Georgia Senate, Walker versus Warnock. This is Trafalgar, along with the one from Georgia Governor. And Walker is ahead by a couple of points in that. Let me check the aggregate, actually. What is that movie? Yeah, Warnock is basically 50-50 with Herschel Walker at the moment. We have 4 polls. We have Warnock +1, Warnock +2, a tie, and Walker +2. This is absolutely doable for the Republicans. Warnock appears to have fallen down near what is presumably a floor, and Herschel Walker happens to be dragged upward by GOP momentum. Any polling skew whatsoever, even if it only be a half a goddamn point, and Walker would have the advantage here. He'd be ahead. If there's a skew of 0.4, he's ahead. I don't know what's going to happen in this race, but I think it's now a 50-50 sum game. I no longer think that Warnock has particularly any advantage. There have been times that Herschel Walker is riding up near what is presumably a ceiling. If late deciders break for him, Herschel Walker would win. If they break for Warnock, Warnock would win. You also have potentially a turnout differential right now. The cat is really trying to screw with things. She goes around, she circles around like Jen Psaki, jumps back up. It's clear I don't want you right in front of the computer screen because I have to look at the fucking polling graph, but you still want to lay there, and I don't know what the problem is. I no longer give an advantage to Raphael Warnock here. It was a 60-40. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago, whatever, kitty. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about that. That doesn't exist anymore. It's close to echoing, like in Nevada, I think the Republicans now have a 60-40 advantage, to be clear. We also have the Georgia gubernatorial race, Kemp versus Abrams, where, remember, there has been not one poll in all of the polling history that has shown Stacey Abrams up. Kemp now has a 7.5 lead. I think that he'll slightly outperform DeSantis, actually, because of the crux of undecided voters there. I think the turnout differential will be bigger in Georgia than in Florida. I could be wrong, but we'll wait and see what happens after Chris got curb stomped by DeSantis. We'll be talking about that separately, by the way. Kemp has effectively secured re-election, in my opinion. I can't imagine that there's any possibility that there's going to be a polling skew of 6-7 points in favor of the Dems. There's literally no historical or current reason to believe that. Even if there was a skew, the GOP at this point would still be taking the House, several gubernatorial slots, and very likely at least one Senate seat. That's like the low bar that they have to cross. 20, 25 in the House still gives them a double-digit majority. So Stacey Abrams is effectively, her goose is cooked. She'll be doing damage control after the election. By the way, we should probably do a separate video at some point. Where do you think the biggest damage control will come from? I mean, individual campaigns, assuming a loss. Abrams, Beto O'Rourke. I don't think it'd be Charlie Crist. I think he'll take losing better than them. If she loses Katie Hobbs in Arizona, that one will be closer probably. Still waiting for new polling there. And that brings us actually a good segue into the new poll that you've got from New Hampshire. Maggie Hassan leads by 1 point, assuming that the latest poll is true. Leads by 3 and 7 respectively in the others. So she still has a lead. The problem is that there's less than a 4-point gap in the aggregated polling. You have had an extreme amount of narrowing. It looks like basically Maggie Hassan has the same level of support that she's had for a very long time, since many months ago. What's happened is that Bolduc has gained about 5 points in that aggregate. None of these undecided voters, because that's what you would have to assume this number reflects, moving to one party or the other. None of them are moving Democratic. They're all moving to the GOP. If we assume that undecided voters, and that's a minority of the public at this point, it's probably in the single-digit range. If we assume that even a considerable majority of them move to the GOP, the election is basically fundamentally over already. The GOP will absolutely clobber the shit out of the Democrats. They'll be taking up seats they haven't held in 20, 30 years. This could be one of them. There's barely any polling here because Maggie Hassan was considered to be a shoo-in. She was up by double digits, only a few months ago. Now she's leading by 3.6 in the aggregate. So keeping that in mind. We have other polling. Most of it's pretty boring, like Sununu, governor versus Sherman in New Hampshire. He's going to win easily. We also have Whitmer, though. Tudor Dixon could feasibly win against Whitmer. It's slightly more likely than Maggie Hassan losing. And this was also considered a safe seat only a short time ago. It was a double-digit lead for Gretchen Whitmer in most of the polling up until basically right now. Right at the 11th hour is when things are swinging. Let's see. More super chats. Elmar001, I really enjoyed your test stream with Sleazy P Martini. Can't wait for you guys to team up for the main midterm stream. Yes, and we've got a bunch of people RSVP'd, of course, as guests, so it's going to be a fun time. I'll be hyper-caffeinated the entire time. Probably Sleazy will, too. Rex Skittles, if Biden is demented, doesn't that mean the bills he signs into law not be legally binding like a contract? Wouldn't be binding. They are, because he has not yet been 25th. You have to have a legal recourse to declare that that's the case and incapacity has kicked in. Otherwise, the bills are still, unfortunately, valid. Not that he signs many. Can't get them through the House. Ralph J., my in-laws voted Biden and hate him right now. Love DeSantis. And many such cases. Mystery Purpose, jalapeno or bell peppers. Why can't we have both? Depends on what you're using them for. Sebastian Monroe. Reminder, Wisconsin early voting starts today. I recommend voting in person on actual election day, not voting early. Stan Vanderact. Reminder, not a single incumbent ever won a runoff in Georgia history. If Warnock cannot reach 50% by round one, he is done. Probably. Yeah, Herschel Walker is more likely to hit that 50% mark, I guess. The Dex J. Stix, I think that even you will be able to surf this red wave, even though you're living in the Netherlands. Can't wait for the Sleazy Clank stream. Yeah, clank and crack. Matthew Kirkland. Thoughts on the Biden student loan grift being upheld by the 8th? It's been temporarily blocked last I checked. They ended up upholding in the end. Let me check. Is that breaking news? No, it is still paused at this time, to my knowledge. The 8th Circuit has not yet upheld it. They might. It's not even that unlikely, but it's still in play. Miku Huntu Forex Bot. Do Dems use debate plants to cheer their candidate? Yes. So do Republicans, by the way. Salty Ironworker. Thanks for the 50 spot, man. If Republicans win the House and possibly the Senate, wouldn't putting Cocaine Mitch and that simp McCarthy in charge of them be a huge mistake? And how can we change it, and with who? Thanks for always helping me understand this crazy world of politics. Yes, it would be a mistake to keep McCarthy and McConnell on in their leadership roles. They would have to be kicked out by the party itself. That's more likely to happen in the House than in the Senate. The turnover rate's higher in favor of MAGA right now. You may have the votes to do that. And having the House Speaker is more important than having the leader of the Senate anyway. You're probably going to have a much wider majority in the House. You can therefore use budget shenanigans in order to greenlight whatever happens that you want to. Jack's regret. Fetterman versus Osprey shouldn't be that close. Are people truly uninformed, or do people want to see the world burn? It's hard to stay optimistic. It's close right now, but after the debate, we may see that change. The Ahagal Faces. Have you heard the new Biden proposal? Canada, U.S., and Mexico Economic Alliance, known as CUM Act of 2023. Oh, they've been talking about the North American Union shit for, God, it was back in the 2000s when I first saw that mention. With the Amero and things like that. Caveman Resell. Cash bail ending in Illinois, January 2023. Yeah, that's going to be a great time. Let's take the burglars and put them right back on the street. They can pay. They'll be able to pay the bail that they don't owe with the next burglary. Hismanai, Happy Clank. Ozzy's Robots. Adidas joins Chase, breaking ties with Kanye over anti-Semitism. Yet anti-white racism seems openly endorsed by corporations. Is the public truly this stupid? Some of them are, yes. Silver Kestrel. Voted early in Texas. GOP down ballot. My state senator and state rep are unopposed and have already won. LMAO. Ha. We got some Rumble rants over there as well. Get right to it. Tom Pollins 787 Sticks, please stop saying Hochul could be reelected to governor. She has to be elected to governor a first time before she can be reelected. She is the incumbent, however, currently in office, having replaced Andrew Cuomo. So it would be technically a reelection. Il Sarto, yeah, I can't read that out because it's I'm on YouTube as well live, Il Sarto. I'll do so. You can be more edgy if I do more Rumble exclusive streams. After the midterms, I'm going to try to figure out my format for that. But he's naming various names of people who follow a certain ethnic tradition and are in government, etc. It is quite a long list, you will know. 40 kids, getting my CPA to defend small businesses under IRS audit. Should I work for the IRS for a year to know their system inside out? Thank you. If you can get a job with them, I guess you get job security. That's another thing. The Republicans are saying that they do intend, if they take the House, to defund the expansion of the IRS. They'd better, because we're going to hold their goddamn toes to the fucking fire. That does need to happen. And they will be severely punished if they don't follow through with that. They've already vowed it. They've made that promise, including McCarthy, actually, in his case. Okay, follow through with it. Don't be assholes. Don't expect to be able to act like the current Democratic Party and not get punished similarly. The Landlord Harassment Channel spears Biden 2024. Next news story. Liz Cheney's plan to divide the Republican Party has failed. And of course, there's a picture of her looking sourpuss-like really sad there. I would like to point something out. I don't give a fuck about this because Liz Cheney is now an afterthought. She's not really a main issue within politics. She's lost her job. She's in lame duck status as of the midterm. She's not going to get anything else accomplished, and she will be forgotten. She's not going to play spoiler in 24. She's not going to mount a bid for the Republican nomination and actually go anywhere. That's not going to happen. She can campaign against Trump or whoever the GOP nominee is in 24 all she wants. Nobody gives a fucking goddamn shit what she says. I would like to point out something, physiognomy related, I suppose. Have you ever seen a picture of Liz Cheney where she's not making the same face that your mother makes when you do something really dumb when you're a little kid? Like the I'm disappointed in you face, the face that you get from, the wine aunt when you broke into the Chardonnay cabinet or something like that. Just, I do not approve of what you're doing right now. I can't even do the face because it's definitely a Karen trait. Some of you may be capable of doing it. I don't know. I can do some impressions, but I can't really do a Liz Cheney. So I have disdain for you. That's basically the way she looks. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was funny. It's every goddamn picture of her. Eric writes, did you ever check out the Oregon governance debates? There's a second one out now, and both are quite interesting. As said previously, Betsy is pretty cool. Drazen reminds me of Romney, and Kotek is a psycho. Check him out. Sounds pretty good. I think that Drazen will be probably winning. It appears the GOP is actually going to, with a neocon maybe, but the GOP might take the Oregon gubernatorial slot. By the way, one effect that you might see is if the neocons realize how popular MAGA populism is post-midterm red wave, they might actually start voting along with them because they're entirely self-serving. It'll be disingenuous. They don't really care about liberty or people's rights or the working class, but they know that they'll be punished if they step out of line. And so they may actually start to act respectable for the first time in their miserable, godforsaken lives. Man, I hope I live to see that day. David, do you think the U.S. should adopt the approach of having cyclist, pedestrian-friendly roads like the Netherlands, or do you prefer how the U.S. makes roads? That would be good for many urban areas. The problem is that the old school setup of European cities is not something you can easily replicate in the U.S. A lot of the city planning dates to the 19th century. Wider roads, you have a highway system, it's much more beefy, a lot less rail except for industrial purposes. You can't really, you couldn't take what you do in the Netherlands and extrapolate it to small town America. You can do that with walkable inner city areas. Like you could do it in like lower Manhattan or something like that if you wanted to. It might help or hurt with congestion, by the way, if you did that. You can do that, but it would only work in the city areas because they're the only places densely concentrated by population enough to justify that sort of design. Google account. Have you seen Hillary's new 2022-2024 stolen election claims? Also grifting funds to crush the coup this time. Lol. Yeah, they're saying that she's going to try to fortify things, which is possible and, in fact, likely. But she's more interested in making money and getting attention than anything else. She knows she's no longer got a place in elected politics, so she's just trying to burn things down on the way out. Chris, who do you think Trump will pick as a running mate? Assuming that he runs, I do think he will option Carrie Lake, but she has effectively ruled that out. My hope is it's Rand Paul. My fear is it'll be Ted Cruz. And if he chooses Ted Cruz, I'll have to hold my nose to vote for the ticket. I may want Trump back, but Ted would be there. DeSantis would be fine. That would be fine. There are others. It'd be funny if he chose Rubio or somebody like that. Chris, who do you think Trump will pick as a running? Oh, I just read that one. Sorry about that. FBI Glowboy, Trump annoys me sometimes, specifically attacking DeSantis for candidates he supported. This doesn't win any points with his base, so why do it? Pettiness or incorrectly reading the room? I think that it's just a little bit of, hubbub in their case. There's going to be drama between them because Trump likes to point out the fact that DeSantis would have lost against somebody who is now in prison for fraud and also passed out on crack cocaine with hookers and shit like that, and had to get out of politics at that point. Trump likes to point out that he did drag DeSantis over the finish line. He is fundamentally correct, by the way. Remarkable Bath on Rumble. Thanks for motivating me to start a Rumble channel up to 16 subs. Here's a thank you, and I hope the family is doing well. All right, everyone on Rumble, you've got Remarkable Bath over there. You can get a lot more than 16 subs. Pump them up. Cindy Durelic, GOP Super PAC stop support for Bolduc, but New Hampshire News saying he's within 3 points of Hassan. Yes, we covered that. I would love to see that happen. I'm sending money for your hyper-caffeinated live stream ahead of time. You're going to need a lot. Yeah, I'll probably drink 4 or 5 energy drinks that night. Or maybe I'll just chug coffee. Bleach Demon, possibility that Potato Joe resigns between the election and the swearing in of the new Congress. 0%, but there's a chance that he resigns thereafter. Mr. Wonderful, cyclists contribute nothing to the economy. They leech off the infrastructure paid for by motorists. Disagreed. There's a lot less damaged infrastructure caused by a bicycle going over it. Seems to work in this country pretty well. Problem is, again, city design is totally different on different sides of the pond. Pumpkin Tarot, happy early Samhain, Sticks. Some people insist it's pronounced Sowen, by the way. Always interesting. Next news story, I've been blocked by another meaningless account on Twitter. Tribble LLC, yes, Tribble Social Network, or Tribal. I'm not sure which way it's meant to be pronounced. I like Tribble better because it reminds me of the trouble with Tribbles, and that reminds me of leftists because they're useless, they self-replicate, and they cause a bunch of problems, especially in your economy. So I'm just going to call them Tribble Social. They've apparently they preemptively blocked me, and if you look at their splash screen, it's very, very funny. They've got 50,000 downloads of their app. They're trying to replace Twitter because they're all frenetic about Elon Musk acquiring it. And they're saying, well, if Elon Musk gets Twitter, it's a fascist platform. Quick, we need to do what we claimed was cringe for the last 3 or 4 goddamn years. Yes, the Occupy Dems are involved, by the way, with this group in promoting it. You rambled and raved about Parler and Getter and Gab and all of these others becoming echo chambers because, look at these weak-wristed goofballs. They can't handle the heat. They should get out of the kitchen. They had to flee to their wee echo chamber. What the fuck is this? And it's nowhere near successful. 50,000 downloads. I wipe my ass with 50,000 downloads. God, Jesus Christ, I've sold 70,000 copies of just one of the books that I've edited in the past. Don't get me started. Gab would gobble you up for goddamn dinner. How many millions of people have downloaded Gab's app? How many millions of people have Getter and Parler at this point? You're a drop in the bucket. And it's basically entirely fear-related. I have a feeling that it's mostly about making money. And somebody looked through their end-user licensing agreement and said it was abysmal. Like, basically, they're going to sell all of your data and fuck you. I can believe that. Yeah, I'm not going to bother reading through it myself. So basically, you have a far-left version of Gab now, and it's going to be very cringy. I'm sure that I would be welcome to talk on their platform. Crusader Gundam was camping with my fiance this weekend, and the campsite was having an extra Halloween. Decorations, trick-or-treaters, costumes, and everything. Nice. The Grizzly, I'd love to see a reality where the Democrats have any kind of realization where they support MAPS, burning Wendy's, and hating people based on immutable characteristics is bad. I just don't see that happening. Yeah, they're convinced of their own nobility in their bizarre and bigoted beliefs. Adam THM, did you see Cruz on The View yesterday? Yes, I did. Using Lake's playbook to deal with election deniers from the left. Also, Alex Stein at Penn State as well. I saw both of these things. I did find it funny that he managed to troll all the people on The View. And he came with receipts. Hey, look, here's quotes of Hillary and Biden and similar people on The View, you know, met several of them, denying the results of prior elections, especially 2016, but also the 2000 election. That one was wonky because he had basically a 50-50 split in Florida. And then the Supreme Court of the state had to step in to decide that W was the winner. Not that it matters. It's like choosing between W and Al Gore. Who cares? Would I drink cyanide or arsenic today? It's basically the choice that you had in 2012 as well, just to be clear. I just found it funny. Yeah, Ted Cruz did a good job, and I'm not a Ted Cruz fan. Quite the opposite. I consider him cringy generally. But he did manage to best the people at The View, and then they were heckling him. Some climate protesters were heckling. They had to stop the feed for a little while, and that was funny too. They were showing their true characteristics. They do not want someone to be able to speak out against their beliefs. Let's see. Skycloud Rain, if he resigns, we get Kamala. That's terrible. Yeah, but she's already there. He's not calling the shots. The people behind the scenes would still be calling the shots. You just have someone even more remarkably insane as the figurehead. So I wouldn't be afraid of Kamala being the president. And it would just be president name, unelected, part of a ticket where the president had to potentially get 25th for dementia. That'd go over well. 12, you also inspired me to start a Rumble channel, The Coming Conflict on Rumble. Thanks. Okay, so you've also got The Coming Conflict. Bullright Show wins. Do you think the Republicans can get inflation under control and not crush the economy? I'm worried about what recently happened in Britain will also happen here. Also, how do you think we fight inflation? Well, stop pumping the economy. That's all you have to do. A little bit of austerity, I suppose. Stop pumping the economy, let the free market fix it. To be clear, the Republicans cannot do anything directly to affect the economy in a positive way until all of the Bidenflation begins to subside. That'll take a lot of time. You have to realize the Republicans will go into 2024 being at least in part blamed for economic conditions. They've already laid the groundwork. We know that the economy is headed for a recession. And I don't mean like 2 consecutive negative quarters recession. I mean a deep world recession. It will be blamed on the fact that the American people stupidly chose these evil right-wingers, and now they're standing in the way of our legislation. It'll be interesting. I think that particular propaganda will fail in the end, but it is being attempted already. They are preempting the situation. Mr. Wonderful, that road cyclists use that they don't damage was paid for by motorists. How gracious of them. Yeah, well, they're not damaging anything. I believe in the right to travel around. What would be the problem? Would you have a problem with banning pedestrians entirely, by the way? You know? People shouldn't have to own a car. I mean, they live closer to your work. It's perfectly fine. Tomes 2789. Did you see this? Hillary Clinton says Republicans have plans to steal the 24 presidential election. Yes, which means she's projecting. Just to be clear, I will say no more. Salty Ironworker. Darn it, I forgot to ask. I heard Trump is willing to testify in front of Jan 6 morons if they put it on live TV. But Jan 6 morons said they don't want it to be live. Is that true? And why don't you think they want it live? I do not know that that's actually the case, but I suspect that it's possibly true, yeah. Why wouldn't they want it live? Because he will grandstand and he'll make a case in front of the country that makes sense, and they're afraid of that. Assuming that's actually the case. Next news story, and I do have to raise my voice here to focus because there's a very angry baby upstairs who, I don't know what's going on. I think she got hungry there, and sometimes, you know, you get so angry, then you can't eat. And the fact is that you're hungry, so then you get more angry. And it's sort of just a terrible spiral. Why Meta's virtual worlds are failing. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have that understanding of what people want anymore. Yeah, like when he introduced Timeline, he really had that in mind too. I'll tell you why Meta is failing. It's because someone from the old gen of tech decided to set up what is fundamentally a good idea and make it a bunch of horseshit. Meta doesn't make any sense. The adopting of an AI distorted world in the video gaming sense would be great. You could use it as a tool as well. I've pointed out, for example, you could have a monitoring system in a building. Building is on fire. You can monitor where people are. You know where to go to save people, even if they can't get to a window. An earthquake happens, and you're capable of mapping out exactly where the debris is likely to be and the most likely places where there are probably pockets of survivors under the rubble. You could save lives. You could hook it up to a medical system. It would be great. The concept of a metaverse is not bad. I would point out, though, that for pragmatic purposes, people already fundamentally live in an AI atmosphere anyway. They carry their phones around with them all the time. Like, I keep my phone here. I fucking hate smartphones. Half the people I see walking down the street, earbuds in, they're bent over like this. It's like you're going to lose your hearing, number one. If you're in medicine and it has anything to do with the ears or the spine, you've got it golden, dealing with Gen Z and millennials especially, although it seems to be more and more older people as well. They're already augmenting their reality. What was Pokemon Go? It's an augmented reality. Fundamentally, it's an overlap onto the real world. The problem for the metaverse concept is that I don't think people have gotten to the point where they want literally every aspect of their lives hooked up to computer systems. For me, I don't want it hooked up to anything more than I have to. I have a computer. I have a phone out of necessity because you can't even get accounts on half the websites that exist without a fucking phone number now, which I think is a terrible thing, a terrible loss of the old free era of the internet when all you needed was an email, and therefore could make millions of sock accounts very easily. And I think there was a reason why they introduced the phone necessity. They already walk around in an AI world. The things they do, they can't navigate without Google Maps or Yahoo Maps or something like that. They have GPS and shit like that. People driving around. It used to be GPS was a fun toy for people who were very rich. Now it's virtually in every vehicle. I don't use it, but most people do. They can't even navigate on their own. Meanwhile, they're veering all around. They've got their phone like this. They're not even looking at where they're going, and they bonk into people and shit like that. It's like watching a bunch of fucking robots. Oliver Smith. Rand Paul never appears in polling or rankings for potential presidential candidates. Has he unequivocally stated his intention not to run? My VP pick. No, he hasn't. They leave him out because they're afraid of giving him name recognition. They don't want him to be a potential presidential nominee. Skycloud Rain, you think it could go back to how it used to be when it comes to POTUS? The electoral winner becomes president and the other party becomes vice. I think that would require a constitutional amendment. I don't think we're getting any of those anytime soon. Sunshine Girl, Stix, please check out Rich Barris of People's Pundit for great polling and analysis. The Grizzly, virtual reality is a joke. It's only really useful for a few genres of games like simulators, which are extremely niche. More so than real-time strategy games. It won't work as a Zoom call space. They just use Zoom. Yeah, I mean, there are many applications that would be very interesting with the concept of an overlay over reality. It wouldn't have to be like with goggles or something like that. There are other ways you could do that. The problem is that you're trying to rush the adoption of this and make it a household thing, making it costly to invest in, by the way, to develop in the first place. And it's going to end up like the next Second Life. It's a novel idea whose time has not come and whose applications are too sketchy at the moment to become mainstream. It might bankrupt Mark Zuckerberg, by the way. Good riddance. The Grizzly thought a Battletech game in VR needs to be made. Giant stompy robot simulators of actual driving a giant 50-foot robot with missiles. Yeah, imagine what you could do in first-person shooters. They adapted Fallout 4, which wasn't even built to be VR compatible and apparently got fairly good marks. KNL191, will New Mexico remain blue in the governor's race? I think it does, but the fact that we're even asking that question should have the Democrats asking a few questions of their own. Borai Cho wins. Do you think Turkey will leave NATO? I've heard they've been saber-rattling after Greece over land disputes. Do you think it goes anywhere? No, it's just the normal saber-rattling. It's like North and South Korea. Next news story, The Atlantic, simping for cancel culture. Fear of cancel culture is worse than cancel culture. Yes, it's a good idea to destroy the First Amendment and the concept of being able to speak freely or express yourself freely. It's a good idea to get rid of all that shit because people will get offended otherwise. That's basically the gist of this article. We must make sure that people's fifis aren't hurt, so fuck the First Amendment. I just wanted to point out that it is The Atlantic that keeps posting articles like this. Not a major news story, but definitely interesting. Rice Coon, how the F your kidneys not giving out? Why would my kidneys be giving out? Because of the energy drinks? I generally actually have a healthy lifestyle. I eat healthy. I'll be making cabbage soup tonight, by the way. Offered to put meatballs in it, but there will be no meatballs. I think it would have been tasty. I get a shit ton of exercise at this point. I was already getting the recommended amount. Now we go out for an extra hour every single day walking. So I'm getting more exercise than the average person. God, maybe even more walking time in than the average Dutch person. And the Dutch tend to be healthier as an aggregate than people in the United States. I do not personally consider energy drinks to be anything other than healthy. Caffeine stimulates the heart rate, as does exercise. Doesn't do as much for you as exercise, but I think that it helps with the vascular health. There's no correlation with heart attacks unless you chug down a huge amount. There's no correlation with strokes. That's a myth. They said that about coffee years ago. Then they realized that they didn't fix their studies for smoking. They realized that it was the cigarettes causing it. I don't consider this unhealthy at all. And it's sugar-free. It's delicious. Fucking drink it. Pure blood 100%. Love being a based business owner in Connecticut. I figure since I'm stuck here, might as well spread more BDE to all of these liberals. I like that meme where Godzilla's dunking a basketball and it says, "Shut the fuck up, liberal." Mega Sea Monkey, I was on the Rumble app, but I don't know how to donate my Biden bucks on there. Also, caffeine is love. Caffeine is life. Yeah, just don't overdo it. You know, I mean, you don't want to drink 10 of them in a fucking day or something like that. But if I have a couple of energy drinks in the morning so that I can continue to function, I don't think that that's going to kill me. Aussie's Robots, rising interest rates has made U.S.-backed treasuries a decent investment. What are the odds the U.S. flips to a digital currency and gives you 80 cents on the dollar like the EU did to many European countries? Will cash soon disappear? No, it's not like Europe. Europe is much more densely populated. It's also the question of transit and pedestrian traffic. In small town America, I don't think it'd be possible to make that transference. I think Americans would be far more reluctant to give up the fiat currency, the actual paper money. Forest crab, guarana and taurine are bad for you, not the caffeine. I don't know if this has taurine in it, actually. Let me fucking check. Oh, yeah, it does. Okay. Well, I guess I am killing myself. No, I don't think that it's going to cause any health disturbances. Just remember, if they find me dead of a caffeine overdose, just ask what I knew about Hillary Clinton. If I do suddenly drop dead, make sure to meme it up. Make sure that it is rememberable. And next, the final news story. We have to talk briefly about the DeSantis-Crist debate. I did do a main video on this morning as well. DeSantis crippled Charlie Crist. And it doesn't really matter because there was no chance for Crist anyway. DeSantis has now clinched a double-digit lead in the aggregate. It's not a one-off poll. It's several polls. He's up by double digits. There's no way, I think, over the course of 2 weeks that Crist could make up the difference. And so it's basically meaning I don't even know why DeSantis bothered to debate the fool. One of his linguistic kill shots here, yes, old donkey. Link in the description, not archived because this is a video link. Just watch this. Crist effectively was badgering him about whether he'd serve out his term as governor. The insinuation is, hey, do you have presidential ambitions? And DeSantis, of course, whether he does or not, he wants to keep that close to his chest. He doesn't, especially if he does have those ambitions. He doesn't want to come out and tell the people of Florida, hey, by the way, I'm only going to be governor for a couple of years because I'm going to be running in 24. That wouldn't be good for his career as a governor or as a potential presidential campaign. So what he does is he turns around and says, well, I know you want to talk about Biden in 24 and all this shit, but the only old donkey I want to put out to pasture is you. I thought that was fucking great. Again, you do not need to be a major DeSantis fan, just like you don't need to be a major Ted Cruz fan to appreciate what he did on The View the other day. Same thing is true for DeSantis. Hell, same is true even for losers like Ben Shapiro or Ann Coulter. The Happy Plague Doctor, if you talked about any other substance the way you talk about caffeine, they would throw you in rehab. Yeah, no, not really. You know, there are plenty of people out there who have more than 2 drinks of alcohol each day, so I figure a couple of energy drinks is fine. Caffeine is definitely addictive. I admit fully to that. It's nice to be able to wake up in the morning and get to work. It also tastes good. Like most energy drinks, honestly, don't taste that great. I only drink sugar-frees these days because I just don't like sugary things much. This is one of the few, though, that really nails it. Another one is NOS, their sugar-free energy drink, but you can't get them here. I haven't even seen them in stores in the US in a while. I don't even know if they sell them anymore. I may have been the only one drinking them, and those were fucking powerful, let me tell you. I wouldn't be drinking 2 cans of that. Claws and paws, order of the cat. Meow, cats rule. I agree. Miku Huntu, 4x bot, please, no more super chats. That is all. Peace out. Now, I'm still taking them for a moment. I figure maybe there are other news tips. I'll check on DM and see if anyone's got anything to discuss on there. I might end it a little bit early, though, today. Yeah, we talked about Adidas. They were deciding to break their ties with Kanye over his comments about Jewish businessmen and stuff like that. We would talk about the CDC and their decision, but you'll have to go, if you're on Rumble, you can watch that video on the platform. Otherwise, you can go to BitChute or Odyssey or Minds.com as well. I did do a video on the subject, but I'm not able to, actually talk about that on a YouTube stream because my views are considered verboten on the subject. Oh, Black Veil Brides made a post. That means I'll have to do some log posting when I get done here. Bo Ride Show wins. Did you see any update on the DeSantis Rubio canvasser that was attacked? I haven't gotten any further updates, although I did see that news story. Yes, a canvasser for DeSantis and Rubio was violently attacked. I think has to have facial reconstruction surgery now, potentially. Not fun. It always seems to be leftoids that react like that. I keep hearing how violent right-wingers supposedly are, but that sort of thing almost never happens. Oh yeah, there's another meme going around. Who is this by? I can't even remember. There's some goofball that's claiming that Kyle Rittenhouse is transgendered and was born female and is just on testosterone or something, which I find fascinating. It's sort of like a fake moon landing bullshit or something like that, or the viruses aren't real crowd. Mr. Wonderful, old school Jolt Cola for the win. No thanks. I remember that. Surge, I remember that. Basically just a pile of fucking sugar when you think about it. It's just, if you're going to drink that sort of slop, I guess get Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper. At least Dr. Pepper tastes good. Stephen Kuhn just voted for DeSantis today. Early voting started yesterday. Was happy to see my ID was checked twice just to get my ballot. That's good. That shows that there will be no shenanigans in those final results. Considering the early voting results by party registry, DeSantis and Rubio and all the others there in Florida, they're going to run away with it. It'll be by double digits quite easily. Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse, 4 doors, more whores was his handle, apparently on, Twitter or TikTok or something. Probably TikTok based on his age range. I guess he's got some streamer that he's dating at the moment, and people find it to be cringe. I'm more like, the dude has his own personal life. It has nothing to do with, what happened in Kenosha. I prefer to leave that side of things alone because it has nothing to do with politics. There's a shit ton of stuff. I can't even get through all of the news, generally speaking. I've started live streaming 5 days a week, originally 7 days a week. I still can't work through all the goddamn news. I figure I've got to take it easy on compiling the news. I can only cover so many topics and, not lose my train of thought or get boring or something. Yeah, who was Rittenhouse dating, I guess? And yeah, he's got a YouTube channel now. I can't remember. Everyone's posting about energy drinks right now. I don't like 99% of them. This is one of the few that I like. I don't even like the sugar-free variants for most. Like, I don't like sugar-free Red Bull at all. I used to just drink Red Bull or Monsters, the blue ones specifically. Then I started drinking the white Monster energy drink, sort of the premier millennial drink. Now that I'm here in the Netherlands, though, it's all about these guys. And you can turn them upside down for Styx Hex and Hammer Decor. Casey Bengry, would love to send you some honey from my hives. Not a sugar fan myself. That'd be cool. Especially if it still has the wax in it, because it's good to chew that. Yeah, Alex Bogey, I know NOS still exists, but I hadn't seen the sugar-free version in the stores in many, many years, like literally since maybe 2010 or 2011 or something. I drank the shit out of that. I do see that there are new news articles that are posted on RCP. I'm not going to get to any of them, but I will see if there are any new polls. Oh, we do have a couple of new polls, I think. Let me take a look. Well, one new poll. Fetterman is now up by only 1.3 in Pennsylvania after the new CBS poll shows a +2 for him. I'm wondering if there's a prior poll. Yes, that is down 3 points from their prior CBS News poll, which had him at +5. That was back at the end of August, so a 3-point drop, poll over poll. So Fetterman is effectively tied with Mehmet Oz, and they're about to have a debate tonight. I have a feeling that Fetterman is not going to do well, mainly because he doesn't do well anytime he does public speaking. He has to literally have a prompter there, like goddamn notes to read in order to know what he's being told. He can't verbally process it. Devin Selnes, sucralose is just sugar. I don't have to label it. Oh, they don't have to label it. Yeah, anyway, I think that I'm going to go offline here. How many people were tuning in? About 5,000. That's pretty good. I'll go off a little bit early here, though, because I've got to make cabbage soup tonight, so it'll take a little time. Any time that I'm making a new recipe, I give myself a little extra time for prep, just to sort of absorb the recipe itself. I absorb its power, and then I can make it from scratch without any notes from that point forward. I tend to memorize the recipes and then do them from memory. I like cabbage. It's going to be a fun night. Yes, that's about all.